Hey everybody, it's Jason Creel and this is the Lawn Care Life. Well, the warmer weathers came and I am wearing the big hat now to keep the sun off of me. But today I want to talk about a topic that may be of interest to you, and it's going to be a discussion and sharing from my experience and just some crunching some numbers. But I want to talk to you about how many customers you have, or what does your business have to look like, your lawn care business, to make $100,000 in a year. Now for many of you that may be some sort of benchmark you're shooting for. You know, maybe you've passed that, maybe that seems out of reach, I don't know. But let's talk about what you need to do to generate $100,000 in your lawn care business. Now, let's set some perspective here. You can talk about generating $100,000 versus revenue or profit. I would like to focus more on the profit side because, you know, at the end of the day, how much revenue you make is really not nearly as important as how much profit you make, in my opinion at least. We can, you know, there are a lot of companies out there that are big in other industries that are generating a lot of revenue, but their profit margins may be a lot smaller, so they need to generate a lot of revenue to make the same amount of profit. So in the lawn care business, you know, profit margins are decent, not phenomenal, and let me start off by saying this. I think most of the people that I know in the lawn care business, and this is something I experienced with my own lawn care business, most people are making a decent living in the lawn care business. Now I'm talking about an owner-operator who's out there with a truck and a mower and maybe one or two people working with him, and you know, one truck functioning and out there working hard. They're making a living, meaning at the end of the year they've profited somewhere between $50,000 and $100,000. Some make it over $100,000 in that situation, but it can be challenging. But I found that it's not that difficult once you get your route filled up to make a decent living, enough to support a family, not necessarily get rich, but something you can be proud of in your business. Now here's the problem. What happens is when you start to grow your business and you start to bring on additional people working with you, that really eats into your profits. So what happens is if you're out there by yourself working when you first start off, in a sense your labor is basically free. I mean, you are the labor, okay? And then you hire somebody and you've got one employee and that costs some money. But when you start bringing on employees, if your prices stay the same and you're not able to become more efficient in your route and other ways that you can become more profitable, then it really starts to eat in your profits. And yes, you're generating more revenue, but you're not necessarily making much more profit. I mean, maybe a little bit, but you know what I'm saying? It's like if I had 50 customers and I was making $50,000, well, that doesn't necessarily mean that 100 customers is going to equal $100,000, because chances are I've had to bring on some employees, the overheads increased, and my profit margins have gone down. So that's the struggle that many people face. They try to grow, they say, I'm getting more and more customers, I bring on help, margins go down. What I do, either shrink it back down or work by themselves, but it becomes a struggle. And that's why it seems, in my opinion, most people get plateaued at that, you know, making a living range, $50,000 to $100,000, somewhere in that. And few of them are ever able to break past that and start scaling their business to make well over $100,000. Let me say this. I do think that it is possible to be a solo operator or a small company with one vehicle operating and maybe, you know, one or two employees and make $100,000 profit. I think that's possible, even working by yourself, even just mowing grass, because I think there's people who do it, and what they do, or what I've seen them do in my area, and this is going to be different in different areas. Let's say you're living down in South Florida and you're mowing year-round. I mean, weekly, year-round, or maybe in the winter it goes to bi-weekly, but there's really no stopping. Or maybe you're up in a colder climate and the mowing season's much shorter, and you have to think of what can I do in the wintertime to generate income. And that's part of the problem that people have, is their winter income. So they'll make that 50 to 100,000 in 8 or 9 months out of the year, and then the other 4 months of the year in the winter they make almost nothing. And that's why, in my opinion, they have trouble getting over that income plateau. So here's how the ones that I've seen be successful have done it, that have made more money. One, they figure out how to do year-round work. Okay, so if that's mowing, even in my area in Alabama, we don't necessarily mow year-round, but there are customers out there that want their property looking good 52 weeks out of the year. So customers will pay $300 and $400 a month to have you come and mow their lawn weekly during the growing season, and then keep the leaves cleaned up in the wintertime, just keep everything blowed off, keep their hedges trimmed. And like I said, they're paying $300 and $400 a month year round to keep that done. So that being able to fill that gap of that winter income, which really kills people, because some people are on a pace to generate $100,000 profit through the summer, but it takes a huge drop off in the winter. So that's one way they do it. And you may not be able to get all these year-round customers. Maybe your area doesn't have a huge demand for that. But if it does, I would say to start gearing your business toward that, or think of other ways that you can generate money in the wintertime to help you increase your profits. Because let's just do a little bit of math here. Let's say that your average yard, you're mowing lawns, and your average yard is $50. Okay, and you mow that yard 30 times a year. Now that's 30 times a year, that's kind of like weekly through in the growing season. I'm basing on how we do here in Alabama. So let's say you start off cutting their yard, one cut in March, maybe twice in April, May through September, you're cutting it every week. And then you back off to maybe bi-weekly in October, maybe one cut in November. Anyway, that's somewhere around 30 cuts. I didn't add it up in my head. But 30 cuts times $50 per cut is $1,500 per customer. Now, you gotta think, well, how many of those customers are you gonna need? If you had 100 of those, then you've generated $150,000 worth of revenue. Well, if you were able to do 100 by yourself with $150,000 revenue, then chances are you could generate $100,000 profit. But it's gonna be hard to mow 100 yards by yourself every single week during the growing season. I mean, that's 20 yards a day, 5 days a week. That's probably not realistic. So again, once you hire somebody, and let's say you bring somebody in and you paid them $30,000 for the year, well, now that $150,000 revenue is down to $120,000 revenue, and then you got all the other expenses. Your equipment tears up, you got fuel for your mowers, fuel for your truck, and eventually, throughout that, you're gonna probably dip down below $100,000. Even if you're just operating your business from your home, you're not renting storage space, you're doing things very minimalist to keep your expenses down, it's still gonna dip you down. So it becomes very, very difficult by that model to ever make $100,000 in profit. And again, as you hire additional people, now let's say you got up to 150 customers and they were paying you that $1,500 per year on average. Well, then that is $225,000. And let's say you're able to do that with a 3-man crew and you pay each of the other people $30,000. Then $225,000 minus the $60,000 for your labor is gonna equal, what is that? Put you at $165,000. And then when you take off your other expenses that you have, you probably are gonna end up right around that $100,000 mark. Now this can vary greatly. I mean, who knows, if you say, well, I'm gonna go buy, 2 new trucks for my business this year, then I see that's gonna put you below 100,000, or all new mowers or whatever. I mean, this isn't an exact science. I'm just trying to crunch some numbers for you to give you an idea. But I think in that situation, a 3-man crew that can take on 150 customers can make $100,000 a year profit. By yourself, I think you're gonna need to really focus on the high-end customers that are willing to pay you year-round, or you can mow during the mowing season and then think of other things you can do during the off season. Maybe up north it's snow plowing, maybe you get into landscaping if you live further south in the wintertime, laying sod, irrigation, I don't know what your skill set is, but things that can be even more profitable than the mowing. The mowing can be the steady money throughout the summer months, and in this off season you got to figure out how to get over that hump. Because like I said, I think there's a lot of people who can profit somewhere in the $60,000 to $70,000 to $80,000 range in 8 or 9 months during the mowing season. But can they figure out how to make another 20 or 30 in the off season by doing other stuff if the mowing completely dries up? So go for some year-round contracts if you can get those, or figure out what you can do in the off-season other than mowing grass to supplement your income. So for me, I'm doing weed control and fertilization. One of the big things that's helped me with is the winter income. It's year-round income, at least where I live. It never stops. 12 months out of the year, my income is basically the same, and that's been really nice. But the negative thing about it is you got to have a lot of customers. I mean, one person can handle 400 to 500 lawns by themselves, and honestly you need 400 yards to make a decent living. So it takes a while to get built up, but once it gets established, it can be very profitable and you can reach those goals. And I do think, you know, with 400 customers, and you might be doing anywhere from 5 applications a year to 12 applications on a yard, but you know, in general, I'm doing 7 applications, and with somewhere around 400 customers, you can make $100,000 in profit if you structure it right and are working by yourself. Same thing applies in this. When you start hiring people and buying more trucks and more equipment, of course it's going to eat into your profits, but that was part of the growing pains of taking your business to the next level. And once you get past the $100,000 plateau, then maybe you can start saying, well, how can I get to 150 or 200,000 and really start scaling my business? Either way, lawn business is a great business to be in. I talk to people all the time who are excited about it. I talked to somebody the other day, and he was telling me about how he was getting started, and he was saying that he had another part-time job, and he was mowing lawns on the weekends. He said, I was making way more money mowing lawns on the weekends than I was during the week at my other job. And so he started full-time. So, you know, $100,000 is just sort of a plateau that many of us want to reach, but that doesn't mean that you have to make that to be successful. Many of us, it's not just about the money in the lawn. I was just, you know, do a video to talk about that, but for many of us, it's just the fulfillment of having your own business, making a living, and doing something that you enjoy doing and contributes back to the community. And it's really a valuable thing that money can't buy. But at the same time, we're really trying to make money at the same time, or at least I am. You know, I hope you are. I just want to give you some perspective and get you thinking about, you know, where would my business have to be based on my numbers? And your numbers may be way different than the ones I was giving you. You may be mowing lawns bi-weekly, the prices may be higher, lower, whatever. You know, I just have to give you a starting point to give you an idea of what it's going to take to generate $100,000 profit. Hope the video is helpful. Let me hear your thoughts in the comments. If you haven't done so, subscribe to the channel. I'm Jason Creel. Thanks for watching. We'll talk to you later. Bye.